For almost 8 years, I've been married to a man who tells me he loves me every day. Yet, deep down, I feel trapped and suffocated by our relationship. My husband desperately wants to fight for us, but I can't shake the feeling that there's nothing left to save. Our story began in a high-control religious community that sought to keep us apart. Defying the norms, I rebelled and eloped with him, thinking that our love could conquer all. But after our marriage, we were shut out of the community, losing contact with friends and family. It felt like it was just us against the world, and I believed our bond would strengthen through adversity. I couldn't have been more wrong. While I tried to process my past, my husband became consumed by bitterness, constantly complaining about our situation. In the early years, I took on the financial burden while he spent his days gaming, refusing to contribute to the household. Together, we decided that pursuing higher education was essential for our future. I dedicated myself to my studies, juggling a paid internship while he showed minimal effort, often warned about his low attendance. When he dropped out during our final semester due to mental health issues, I felt the pressure mount. My grandmother had just passed, and my brother was terminally ill. Overwhelmed, I broke down in front of my boss, who graciously helped me catch up so I could graduate. A year and a half later, my husband was still stagnant, buried in gaming and drinking, while I felt increasingly lonely. When I voiced my feelings, he accused me of piggybacking on his depression. The turning point came during a heated argument when he admitted to being embarrassed by my appearance and canceled a gaming night with friends. Because of it, I was devastated. How could he be embarrassed by the woman who fought for him and supported him for years? It felt like he took everything I did for granted. From that day forward, I pulled away from him emotionally, refusing to say "I love you" and cutting off affection. I began to wonder if I would be better off alone rather than in a loveless marriage. To make matters worse, my brother passed away recently. We buried him last week, and while I sought comfort in family, whom I had distanced myself from since leaving the religion, my husband became increasingly hostile. He had always spoken poorly of my family, and I couldn't understand why he insisted on attending the funeral. That day, he drank too much, making disgusting remarks about my brother, which left me in disbelief. Once home, he erupted with anger, claiming he felt trapped in a loveless marriage. He gave me an ultimatum: tell him I loved him, or it was over. I was tired of empty threats, so I told him to sleep on the couch that night. The next day, I bought moving boxes to show him I was serious. His disbelief turned into desperation, and his mother came over to smooth things over. Since then, he has showered me with affection, acting as if nothing had happened. It feels like love bombing, a last-ditch effort to convince me to stay. Yet, I'm already searching for an apartment, and my family is ready to help me move whenever I find a place. I wrestle with guilt for leaving him while he's struggling, but I realize 8 years is a long time to wait for someone to get their life together. I can't keep pushing down my own needs for his sake. I deserve to be selfish and take care of myself for once. After a week of avoiding each other, we finally sat down for a serious talk. I made it clear I was leaving and filing for divorce. Surprisingly, he took it well, expressing understanding despite believing it was a mistake. The days that followed were more challenging than I anticipated. Instead of avoiding each other, he treated me with kindness, and we had normal conversations that reminded me of better times. I couldn't hold back tears, remembering the love we once shared. It was a painful decision to leave him, someone I had loved deeply. But I knew I had to be strong. Staying meant accepting a life of unfulfilled expectations. I found a great apartment within walking distance of work and secured funds for the deposit from my family. A few days before moving out, I filed for divorce online, choosing not to contest asset distribution and opting to take only what I brought into the marriage. He agreed without argument, and after a month, we received our divorce papers. I faced a long road of healing, but I felt assured I had made the right choice. Reconnecting with my family after years of low contact has been a comforting balm. Tragedy struck again when my oldest brother passed away just before my nephew was born. The pain of loss has been overwhelming, yet holding my nephew in my arms brings me solace, reminding me that everything will be okay. I've been focusing on finding myself and establishing my place in the world. Although I'm no longer married, I feel less alone than I did in my marriage. My ex and I still keep in touch amicably. He seems to be improving, using our divorce as a catalyst for self-care. He still expresses hope that we might find our way back together someday, but I know we'd likely fall back into old patterns. Now, all we can do is move on and wish each other the best.